This week's episode of Fruits Basket delivers on the most unique version of the Cinderella play I think I've ever seen, while not only just being hilarious with its rendition of this classic play, doing it in the most Fruits Basket outlandish version possible, it actually had a lot of subtle and at times very noticeable clues of real-world relationships for the Fruits Basket characters and how they were being presented and how a lot of them were trying very much to push towards more romantic territory for the other characters. But honestly, I think my favorite part of this entire episode, this wacky ordeal and honestly very dramatic one towards the end of the episode, was the simple moments with Kazuma, when he basically comes to see his son Kyo, and Kyo is the most embarrassed little boy I have ever seen. It was adorable and made me melt to see him so flustered that Daddy came to see him because he's so embarrassed that one, he even did the play, let alone his mentor, his master, the person that he looks at as a father figure, saw him in such a cutesy role when he wants to be a big strong man for him. But the reason I love this moment so much isn't all the adorableness there, it's some of the lines that he says. Basically, when Kyo's trying to figure out how the hell he figures out that he was going to have a play and then Haru's kind of like just there being like, you're welcome. I love how he says, you know, how would you like it if your parents came to see you in this play? And you see for a very brief moment a smile and a sigh of relief, because for someone like Kazuma, he knows that he's not his real father, and I'm sure he firmly believes that Kyo doesn't look at him like a father but more of a mentor at times. But that's a moment that really does put a smile on your face, because like him, it's a nice moment to recognize that he is his true father at the end of the day, and his biological one can go to the streets because that's where he belongs. But in terms of the actual play, it was incredible. I love the outlandish persona to it because it's Cinderella-ish, and they live up to that name because every step of the way where you think you're going to see something in a very familiar setting and fashion for what Cinderella is known for, they completely turn it on its head and do something ridiculous. And there definitely have been anime that I've seen even recently over the past couple of years that have taken classic plays or movies and just kind of twisted it on its head in order to do something a little different with it. But the Cinderella rendition in Fruits Basket is a step above, because rather than just being a funny comedy rendition where it's different, very much different honestly, but also has very similar charm, this one actually was used to progress character relationships, because as it's basically being presented, you have just Toru being one of the sisters, not actually Cinderella. Then you have Kyo as the prince, but he has no interest in Saki, who is the most dark and twisted Cinderella I have ever seen, who just wants to open up a food shop and just constantly talks back, and the audience watching is just like, what are we even witnessing here? Is this a masterpiece or a colossal failure? And I love how as the play's progressing, you're very much seeing multiple characters, including Yuki, who I assume made more noses bleed than probably ever before in his outfit, because as the fairy godmother Yuki, he pretty much is saying like, hey, I'm not going to grant you a wish, you gotta chase it yourself and make your wish come true with your own two hands. Basically symbolizing, go after Toru, you fool, don't be a cat in a cage, be someone who's going to show his fangs and chase after what he wants rather than being held down by a curse in some family that he has no interest in. Make your own family. That simple line that he said to him is what he was meaning. And I love that in this episode, you very much see both Toru and Kyo very much romantically flustered, and I thought maybe they were going to keep Toru a little more ambiguous, maybe not as forefront, but the episode ends with the most, I can't think about it, I can't think of it like this, and I'm like, they're really building up to that Toru as well as Kyo romance, and I love it. I'm really happy that we're not having Yuki just be that third wheel who's trying to insert himself and pretend that he loves her. He very much got out of that mindset very quickly when he realizes that it's okay for him to look at her as a mother. So it was beautiful to see that in a play where Toru wasn't in the situation where she gets the glass slipper. Rather, it still ended up where the prince very much wanted her, even if it didn't end in romance. It was definitely starting to brew romance in a very forefront way with how the play ends. It's one of those things where a lot of things happen after the book ends, and in this case, that book is still going in terms of the anime. Absolutely love how instead of going very typical with Toru being like an evil mother or just having her be the very beautiful damsel in distress or something like that, rather they put Saki as Cinderella, and it was better than I could have possibly hoped for, because she is so cold and dead inside with how she responds, but she's honestly one of the warmest characters in this show. But you gotta love her in this situation because it was completely bonkers. It was just every step of the way the audience or the narrator or the people in the play were like, you still haven't done it. Like, just the physical abuse at the beginning of the play had me rolling, and it was great to see it. It just felt like it was something that obviously was meant to make you laugh, probably the hardest you've ever laughed in Fruits Basket, or at least had a couple of your hardest laughs for sure, even if it wasn't your favorite comedy bit, which it definitely was for me. But at the end of the day, it was definitely there to show you that it's not just a random thing in the Fruits Basket manga and anime, but rather it's actually important development to help progress these two get into a romantic situation, or at least confront their feelings, even if they don't actually end up there. And I was good with that. I was good with that being all we had. I mean, we got Hiro popping back up, and he's trying to confront people who then end up kind of flipping it on his head, saying, oh, you're in love with Rin, which then causes more romantic conflict with Giza. And I'm like, no, you got enough drama here. You don't need to add the children into the mix, but you felt bad for the girl when she looked off in the distance, thinking that her romantic interest is interested in an older woman, and how can she compete? And I'm like, Fruits Basket, you've already had enough wounds, you don't need to make more, but that's why we love the show, because it knows it doesn't have chill. But the stuff that came with Yuki did catch me by surprise, as I thought he wasn't going to have that relevant of a role this episode. Obviously, this season has definitely been Yuki's to shine for sure, but it felt like we were focusing more on Toru and Kyo. And then you get to see this scene where I've been saying for a while, it seems like that's going to be his love interest, and you get a bullying scene. And bullying scenes are interesting because what do? You want to charge in there and stop it. Yuki's the prince. I mean, they're all in love with the prince. He can stop it, but as his friend says, that'll actually cause more issues, and she has to handle it herself. The only reason you would insert yourself is if it got physical, because at that point, absolutely, we have to do something. But unfortunately, as cold as it is, part of it is her fault for not speaking up, and part of it's also your fault for basically leading these girls on and playing up the prince role. And it was great how he did kind of hold himself back and listen in, and how she calls him an airhead. And it's funny, but then she says that he's lonely. And it's like, that's why she seems so perfect for him, because out of all the characters, she's the one who's properly examined this boy, not put him on a pedestal, just looked at him as a normal airhead who's actually really lonely. And it's interesting because with all the people that surround him, why is he so lonely? And that's the type of person you could really see mend his heart, and hopefully he can mend hers, because she seemingly has walked away herself. And it was great to see how they're able to handle a very conflict-driven scene while saying some pretty hard things that people may get mad at, like it's up to her to handle it, why wouldn't people want to protect her and things like that, but it honestly would cause more issues. And it's a hard thing to say, that sometimes, yes, you should insert yourself and it would fix it, but then other times you'd make the bullying worse, and it's just a very bad thing there, and it almost did get very physical, and if it wasn't for that brilliant photo op plan, it would have ended in probably catastrophe. It's something that Fruits Basket knows how to do, is it knows how to keep the drama rolling, but always doing something different with the drama so it never feels stale and repetitive. And between the hilariousness and the more dramatic and romantic build-up with Toru and Kyo with the play, you get some more subtle drama at the end of the play with Hiro and stuff like that, but then you get the amazing potential development between Yuki and maybe love interest, maybe just very good friend, maybe there'll be nothing. It's hard to say, but I'm loving what they're doing, and they hyped up this Cinderella play quite a bit, the Fruits Basket fandom, and I thought something really, really bad was going to happen with this play, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was just a ridiculous rendition of a classic story that actually ended up progressing narratives while being the funniest content I think we've ever seen. The art style is on point, the voice actors are on point. It actually felt like people getting annoyed or confused or absolutely enthralled with a play that seemed to be going off the rails, and it didn't matter how many times they practiced, it was clearly going insane. And it was nice to see that the actors clearly went into their roles exceptionally well and probably came out very happy and laughing at what they were able to act for, while also ending on some very great drama. Fruits Basket is amazing, it's continuing to be amazing, it's a damn masterpiece, what more can I say? I can't wait for the final couple episodes to wrap up Season 2 as we wait for that Season 3. Of course, as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and what did you think of Cinderella and the Fruits Basket formula? If you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.